Hey guys, I just want to say that if you're new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I'm a small content creator and could really use your support. I live stream 100% of the gameplay for games that I review, and I'm also always trying to keep up with the big named movies that are being released. If you would like to support the channel monetarily, you can do so through PayPal, or even better yet, you can get yourself some merch from my Teespring store. If you want to get better connected, you can do so through the social links in the description below, and please do consider joining the Discord. If you do, you can voice chat with me through my headphones while I live stream, and you won't be recorded on YouTube or Twitch. That's all I've got, guys. I hope that you really enjoy the video. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Mike.
And I'm Mr. Brownie God. You can find me on Twitch and YouTube.
And this is Mike's After Action Reviews, and today we're doing the Retroaction review for Power Rangers from 2017, and I hope that you're ready, because let me tell you something. It's morphin' time. Okay guys, so as always we are going to start with the film's production, but today I'm sorry to tell you that I had a little bit of an issue basically my printer. I ran out of printer ink, so I don't have printed out notes, but I have my computer is sitting right here, so you're going to see me looking over here and reading my notes as we go along, so please bear with me. Next time this won't be an issue, but we had to record this today because we've put it off long enough, so I'm just going to be looking over here as we do this, okay? Power Rangers 2017 has a couple of production companies, three of them. We have the first named one is Lionsgate, which is known for Moonfall, which actually released earlier this year in 2022, and they also most recently did Pursuit, which was also released in 2022, so they had a big year this year so far. We have TIK Films, which is most well known for La La Land in 2016, and they also most recently did Chaos Walking in 2021. You have Temple Hill Entertainment, which is most well known for Twilight in 2008, and they most recently did Emergency in 2022. And Emergency actually has some of the actors from Power Rangers 2017 in it, so that kind of shows you that they've kind of got their little pool. You'll notice if you watch my reviews, these actors and production companies kind of have their own little pool of people that they work with. So this was written by John Gattins, Gatins. If I messed that up, please, I apologize. Most well known for Flight from 2012, which is a great movie with Denzel Washington, and also most recently did Kong Skull Island in 2017, which was released the same year as Power Rangers 2017, obviously. We also have Matt Sazama, who is a fairly new writer, especially at the time of writing Power Rangers, and he's most well known for Gods of Egypt from 2016. He also did The Last Witch Hunter in 2015, and The Last Witch Hunter, did you see that movie?
Wait, who's starring in it? Just tell me who's starring in it.
That's Vin Diesel.
No.
Oh, that movie was not very good. Vin Diesel is who Vin Diesel is. He's a fine actor and everything, but the writing was just, I don't know. It was just like a one-off film for him, I think. And then Gods of Egypt, did you see Gods of Egypt? I liked Gods of Egypt, but it was not received well. And I think that it was supposed to be a series, but they just nixed the series.
Gods of Egypt. Who stars in it? Because I think there's a couple.
The Lannister. I was gonna say the Gerard Butler, and then the Lannister who got his hand cut off from
oh my gosh! Yeah.
Yeah, and he's a good actor. He's a good actor. I liked him and stuff. I liked that movie, but people didn't like it. But then, okay, so we have those, and then also we have Burke Sharpless, who is also very new. He worked on Gods of Egypt, and that's what he's most well known for, and also was a writer for The Last Witch Hunter in 2015. Yeah. Actually, I'm looking at all of these, and I have not seen Moonsaw, Pursuit, La La Land, Chaos Walking. I saw Twilight. I thought that movie was, ugh. I didn't like that series very much. Emergency, I didn't see. And then, so like, none of the production company movies I saw, like I said, I like Gods of Egypt. I didn't like The Last Witch Hunter. Kong Skull Island, I thought was pretty good. So that was cool. So I've liked a couple of these things I've liked. I think it's basically hit or miss so far as the project everybody's worked on. And then this was directed by Dean Israelite, who is most well known for a movie that I'm not going to be able to pronounce correctly, but it's Acholiland? Or Acholiland? It's Acholiland. That was from 2009, and that is about basically war going on in Africa. Like, I mean, there's always war going on in Africa, but it's basically about that and the life there. And then also he most recently did Project Almanac in 2015. I mean, obviously, other than the movie that we're talking about. So you kind of have a mixed bag as far as even the production companies. My understanding is that Chaos Walking did not do well, and that was from TIK Films. Mm-hmm. Twilight, not the best received. I mean, it made money, but like the
it
reviews,
made buku bucks.
Yeah, Temple Hill Entertainment making Twilight did not. Those were not the best received movies as far as critic ratings. And then the writers also like. I liked Gods of Egypt, and then The Last Witch Hunter for sure I did not like. And then Gods of Egypt did not get a very good critical reception. So it's interesting to see that the writers are also kind of a mixed bag. And then I don't know much about this director or any of these movies, Achola Land or Project Almanac. So, but have you seen any of those? You got any insights into the production companies or the writers or director?
Okay, so I did watch La La Land.
Okay.
To check out all the hype, because there was a bunch of hype towards it. I don't know if you like knew about the hype or whatever. It was okay. Like, I'm not a huge fan of like musical kind of things, but It was okay. Did it deserve some of the hype that it got? Probably not, but like it was an okay film.
Yeah.
Not breaking the box office, right? I mean, it did break the box office, but like
it did
was
really
okay.
good. I know. Okay, and wasn't it black and white too? It's a black and white film.
I don't think so, because it had Ryan Gosling in it and
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
And it's really famous because it had that scene where the
bridge scene.
Well, no, I was talking about the scene where the cameraman, he like got a tap on the shoulder, and it was switching between the cameraman going like this between Ryan Gosling playing the piano and then what's her name singing or something. And so that was like what that was one thing I knew it was really famous for. So anyway, okay, so there's your production people, so keep that in mind as we're talking about a couple of different things. First of all, being that this is a Retroaction review, we're going to talk about the reception. I usually don't do that unless it's a Retroaction review, okay? So the reception. So from Box Office Mojo, the worldwide gross for Power Rangers 2017 was $142,337,240. Very specific there. And the budget was $100 million. So that sounds like they made $42 million, right? But the thing is that the budget for the movie was $100 million. So the rule of thumb is that you double that as far as your cost for distribution and advertising and stuff like that. So most likely they made a probable loss of $57,662,760. So this was a loss for a movie. So it did not make box office, anything, which is always a bad sign. That which is interesting because I'm going to talk about something about how much money it made in its reception here in a minute. But it opened to mixed reviews as well. So Rotten Tomatoes, which is probably the least accurate, least reliable source for anything anymore, is 51%. IMDb though is 5.9 out of 10, and IGN gave it a 7 out of 10. So kind of mixed reviews. I do just want to say, so it came out in 2017. Its current year is 2022. There has not been a sequel, but they have announced a sequel. But all of the cast and crew that we've talked about, like the director's not returning, and then none of the cast is returning as well for the sequel. But they are working on a sequel. It was announced in 2019. It hasn't come out yet. I can understand. Normally, you'd see like a trailer or something, but because of COVID, it's very reasonable that they've announced it, but haven't had anything to show for it yet. So, what's up?
So I can attest to what's going on with that kind of whole situation. So Power Rangers actually got bought by Hasbro.
Okay.
So they were gonna do a sequel. Now it's switching to a soft reboot with Hasbro running the helm,
Okay.
and a lot of stuff that goes into like stuff like this. Production costs also you want to weigh in toy sales.
Right.
So they didn't include the toy sales and the like major earnings.
Are you
And
talking about
that's
for
something-
Box Office Mojo?
Yeah, Box Office Mojo, they don't include like toy sales
Right.
and stuff like that. But that's what a lot of the money comes from. Like, okay, we have this, but we also want the toy sales.
Right.
So they didn't break it even via box office, but they did get a big amount from toy sales. So
Do you
it's
know
kind
that
of like,
you probably don't know the exact number though?
I don't have the top number off my head.
Even if they broke even, I could see where that. See, the thing is that if they even if they made a couple of movies that failed because of like even if they lost money on this movie and then they made another one that lost money, I could even see them going for a third or a fourth, even if they have failure, because Power Rangers is such a big franchise that if they do it right, maybe I wouldn't see them going for a third, but I could see them trying to go for a fourth and reboot, because Power Rangers is a big enough franchise that even if they did a bad movie, like a failure movie, even and then a second failure movie, if they get the combination right of director, actor, and writing, they could start another MCU, but just a Power Rangers. It could be the Power Rangers universe, the PCU Power Rangers, PRCU Power Rangers Cinematic Universe.
They actually do have something like that.
No, I know it's huge.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
like
like
I know
a
that
huge
that's what I'm saying. Like the television series has been going on forever. It's one of the longest running television series in Japan. Like it's this huge thing.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting how they do it too, because so if I don't know if you probably know this, you said you're a big fan of
Yeah.
Power Rangers. Okay, so I'm not a huge fan of Power Rangers, but I remember watching the original movies when I was a kid, and like because they have old movies with the original cast from the show. I'm realizing that my lighting is down. I'm going to turn up my lighting. They have the original cast from the shows. You remember this? The movies that they made with them, where you had the Red Ranger who became the White Ranger, and he had the eagle in the movie, and they fought the purple slime guy. So
Ivan Ooze.
Ivan Ooze, that's right. So what's interesting about this is that in the American show, all of the fight scenes are actually from a completely different show that is filmed in Japan. Sentai is a show that it's basically the same show, but it's different. It's hard to explain. Like, it's the same show except same idea of a show, different cast, different characters. But then but they have the same costumes. So when they do the fight scenes, all of the fight scenes in America, in the American Power Rangers show, is actually just from the fight scenes from that show, kind of copied and pasted in to Power Rangers. So and they've been doing that for 40 years or something. It's a long running television series, and they're really successful. That's what I'm saying. They could have a few failures and still be making movies, because the popularity of the show is keeping that alive. So but okay, so do you have anything else to say about the production or sorry, the reception? Otherwise we'll move on to characters.
I feel
Plot. We'll move on to plot.
Oh yeah. So the reception, I feel it was either you were a huge fan and you went to go see it, or it's I'll just go check it out. It wasn't like a huge people coming into it getting reintroduced to it. Because it's for kids, kind of, but it's not at the same time. Because there was a couple of jokes that were kind of, yeah.
Yeah, so I can see. Yeah, I would agree with you too. Like, being a person who watched Power Rangers as a kid, not a huge super fan or anything, but I saw it every once in a while as a kid, and I did like the movies as a kid. I would say that you're not going to watch this, and if you've never heard of Power Rangers, you're not going to watch this and be like, yeah, I'm a huge fan now. That's a good point to put on there. But okay, so we'll move on to the plot. So this movie is 124 minutes long, so 2 hours 4 minutes. Our IMDb plot summary, which we always include here at Mike's After Action Reviews, goes as follows: high school outcasts stumble, and there's 5 of them, so 5 high school outcasts stumble upon an old alien ship where they acquire superpowers and are dubbed the Power Rangers. Learning that an old enemy of the previous generation has returned to exact revenge, the group must harness their powers and use them to work together and save the world. So what did you think just of the plot? Like, just the story itself, not its execution, not the actors or anything, just the plot itself. Like,
So the plot, okay, so let me just, it's not like spoilers, but like a few of them aren't outcasts, right? Like they I'm not gonna say specifics, but like they do something stupid, like, and then they're like, okay, now you can't be with the cool kids or whatever because you did something stupid, like really messed up. So, well, one person in particular did something really messed up. If you, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna get into it, but yeah, like the main character of this is kind of the introductory when we. So the movie starts out by showing you a battle scene with the old last generation of Power Rangers, and then as we transition from that, it transitions to the main character of this movie, and him doing some stupid stuff and getting in trouble, and then that makes him kind of an outcast, but he's not really like an outcast. He's like a popular guy who just messed up. So I would say like this has some great potential, like we've kind of already talked about, being that it's Power Rangers and Power Rangers is hugely successful. This plot though in itself is kind of boilerplate. Like all that this really is an introduction to the characters in the world of Power Rangers. I think that they kind of rely a little bit on you already knowing something about the Power Rangers. Basically, this is designed for people, like, I could see where the production crew and everything and the writers were just kind of like, look, everybody knows who the Power Rangers are. Let's just introduce these characters so that way we can get through this movie. And then I think it was designed for some sequels, and I believe that the director did say this was supposed to be like sequels and starting almost like a cinematic universe. So so basically we have the introduction of the characters. They all meet in detention because they've all gotten in trouble for something. It's like, I think it's not even detention, it's like summer school, right? Is that
so what it is like a Saturday detention, like, kind of thing. Okay. I don't know if your school ever had that. Some schools have it. I don't know, like the breakfast, but it don't.
It's like the Breakfast Club. It's like the Breakfast Club, though. So they all meet in this big room, and the teacher comes. I wasn't sure. It was a little bit confusing me because I was like, is this summer school or is it detention? But okay. And then just what I want to say about the plot is that being that these are like normal people, normal teenagers, and we're introducing them into this super-powered world and their superpower abilities and stuff like that, I just want to say you are getting some of that dumb teenager stuff, like juxtaposed, like put right next to. So you have like the dumb teenager stuff and then like the apocalyptic super-powered event that is coming to Earth. And you kind of put those next to each other, and so there's a little bit of a like, there's some cheesiness and some corniness, which isn't going to be a problem. Some campiness. I don't think that's going to be a big problem for people who are huge fans of not Star Wars, of Power Rangers. A huge fan of Power Rangers because that's part of the original show as well. Like they had some campiness, and you just kind of accept like, I mean it's basically a kid's show, but here in the movie, so you still have some of that. Not the biggest problem for me at all, but. Okay. All right. So moving on to acting and characters. So I'm going to start with kind of in order of loosely anyway, in order of the way that we see them in the movie, and then villains at the end and side characters at the end. Okay. So here we go. There actually were not very many characters in this for us to talk about, even though it's an ensemble movie. But we start off with Bryan Cranston. He plays Zordon, and he is most well known for Breaking Bad, the series that went from hit series, went from 2008 to 2013. He most recently did The One and Only Ivan, which is a movie that I saw. It was pretty good. I liked it, about the gorilla. That was in 2020. I like him. I think I like the actor. Do you have anything to say about the actor, though? Just like Breaking Bad, I thought was amazing. He's a really great actor, and he does good here as well. So
I love him. I like his voice, especially. Is that weird to say? Like, he has a nice, soothing kind of voice.
Yeah.
And fun fact about the actor himself, right?
Okay.
His name, Bryan Cranston, right?
Mm-hmm.
He actually, the person who brought it over to English, like from the Sentai,
Uh-huh.
really liked him, so they kind of modeled Billy Cranston, who's the
I
Blue Ranger. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
okay. I was
yeah.
gonna say because I saw that one of the characters' names was Cranston, and I was like, oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting, and I
Small
didn't know
O.
that connection, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So he does really good here, as much as he can. So Zordon, he's shown in the beginning, and I really liked him in the beginning in the big battle scene with. You don't see. Okay, so when I say that the movie opens up with a battle scene, it's like the end of the battle. The Power Rangers are defeated, and Zordon does some stuff to make sure that the Power Rangers not rings, the Power Ranger
Coins.
tokens,
The
the
power
coins,
coins. Yeah.
the power coins persist.
Coins.
He basically hides them away. Yeah, he hides them away so that way he can't. There can be another generation of Power Rangers. And then after that, you see him, and he is just in the wall, like in the original show, he was in a big tube, and he was a floating head in a tube. Like a hologram. And then here, I think they did a better job, and I think it just looks really cool because he's in a wall and he's in one of those, like, what do you call those things where you stick your hand to it?
Oh
like,
my gosh!
You know what I'm talking about?
I know what you're talking about. Where you push it and then
stuff comes out. It looks like if you would take one of those, and I'll put a picture up. You'll see a picture up in the corner. Yeah, it looks like if you took one of those and put it to your face, but then if you like talked, its mouth would move and everything. That's what he looks like.
Yeah.
Looks pretty. No, I mean I thought it looked good and it looked cool, and he did as good a job as he could being stuck in a wall. But I will say that my biggest regret was that there was not more Zordon. I would have loved to see. You know what I would love to see? I would love to see a prequel of this where it's just Bryan Cranston and the original Power Rangers team that all get defeated in the beginning of this movie, and just see him be an superhero action hero. That'd be really cool. Yeah. So then, if we're good, I'm gonna move on. Okay. Do you have anything else to say about Zordon's character?
Yeah. It makes sense, like the way he was acting, but he was kind of acting like a dick towards all the like. The new Power Rangers coming in, like where he's supposed to be that mentor, he was just kind of like,
"Oh, you guys suck!"
Like
yeah.
off the bat, like he doesn't get to know him or anything. He's just like, "You guys suck. You're awful." Like,
right?
I mean, they chose the power coins kind of chose him, so like they were meant to do this, but like he's acting like there's such a burden off the bat. They have no idea what any of this is, and he's like, "You're supposed to know this. Like, it's been millions of years, but you're supposed to know this," kind of thing. I was like,
Oh, okay. Is this the character that you were talking about, though?
Yeah. Like,
okay.
Off the bat, like Zordon was such a understanding guy in the original series, where he was like, okay,
I do.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Now he came off kind of like dickish.
A jerk. He was a jerk, man. It's like, hey, man, I don't know nothing about this. I never had superpowers before. Come on,
exactly. Who's the Power Rangers, kind of thing.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No. I mean, I agree, and I just think that they didn't have enough of him to really connect with the character and show exactly the thing. Hopefully, if they do a sequel, we'll get a little bit of a better character. I don't know how it's going to work as far as like a reboot or a sequel or whatever, but okay. So then we have the actual Power Rangers. Now there are 5 of them, and I want to ask you first of all, how do you feel about the fact that so in the original show, the Black Ranger was a black man, and now they have taken the black man. Who in the original show was a Black Ranger, and they took him and made him the Blue Ranger, and also put him on the autism spectrum. So not only is he not only is the black man not the Black Ranger, but he also is on the spectrum. Mm-hmm. Basically, what they did is they made the Black Ranger, they made the only black member of the Power Rangers in this movie a different color than black for his suit, and also a retard.
So with him being changed, like in the 90s, everything black was like cool and like dancing and everything like that. So I understood where his original characterization came from. And I don't think that the change was good, because like I used to work a lot with people on the spectrum and things like that, and his characterization, the Blue Ranger, was amazing, and I do like the actor. His comedic timing is always on point, and it never like made fun of the fact that they played around with the fact that he was neurotypical, and him being on the spectrum, but they never made fun of it, and it was done tastefully, not like made fun of him for it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And from the original characterization for like Billy, it made perfect sense. Like, because he was always kind of like a little bit awkward, and like he wasn't as social as the other Power Rangers. So I think they did it good. They did the transition well.
So I'll say that I agree with you about the way that they did it and everything, but I think that most likely, and this is just brass tacks, I'm not necessarily criticizing, I'm just commenting on what I see to be the truth here, is that it really seems like probably they wanted to have a disabled person in some way on the team, so that way they could go, hey look, we put a mentally disabled person on the team, how cool is that? The way that they did it was fine. It's actually not too bothersome for me. I think that this is probably the most tasteful way. Like, I basically agree with what you're saying, but most likely, just with the way that the political climate and social climate right now is, they were like, hey, let's make the weird guy not just a weird guy, but also an autistic person. I think it sucks because black is just a cool color, like just in general.
Yeah.
Just like the color black is cool, and so I feel like you were saying, in the 80s, everything was like cool and all this, and so it was like the black guy being the Black Ranger was like the black, it's just like a cool color to be. So if I were a ranger, I would want to be black, the Black Ranger, the black color, just because that's like a cool color. But anyway, okay, so we have basically the Rangers, though, getting into the characters here. I just wanted to, that was just like going off on a little tangent there. So the Rangers kind of fill the stereotypical character roles, especially for like 80s and 90s media, like movies and ensemble movies, and then shows. So you have the jock, who's played by all I wrote down was the Ranger colors. What are the characters' names? So the jock,
Jason.
Okay, so Jason was the jock, the cheerleader.
Kimberly.
You have the nerd on the spectrum, who is Billy. Yeah. And then you have rocker girl, who has an attitude.
Trini,
that's right. And then you have crazy Asian guy,
Zach.
Who is Zach. Okay, so there we go. So this is why we brought. Actually, you picked the movie. I didn't pick this movie because Brownie God here is an expert on the Power Rangers. But yeah, so they fill those kind of stereotypical roles, and you see how they all kind of interact, and I think it was good. Like, it's good. It's something that they had from the original writing of the show, and they do it well. I think that they do it well enough here as well. You do get more development in a show when you have episodes, and then it's much longer. Instead of just being 2 hours, you have like seasons and seasons of the show. But yeah, so seeing them kind of interact is kind of cool. Starting with the Power Rangers, so we have the jock. Played by, so this is the Red Ranger. He's played by Dacre Montgomery. He is most well known for Stranger Things. The series went from 2017 to 2022. It's still going now, but he was in the last season, the last season that aired, the third season, and then he most recently did the Broken Hearts Gallery from 2020. That was a movie. I think he's a good enough actor. So he did really good in Stranger Things. He is another one of those guys that has a different accent and so acting in a different accent just to me is like, okay, you're it, man. You're a great actor. I think he does good enough. I mean, like I said, liked him in Stranger Things. I didn't see Broken Hearts Gallery, and I think his character here again just kind of is the jock. He takes on the natural leadership position because of his position as being, a member of a team on the football team and stuff like that. And I think they did okay. I mean, the biggest problem with the characters here is that you have a 2-hour movie and you have 5 characters as the member of the team, plus the villain, and then Zordon, and then another side character that we'll talk about. And you don't get a whole lot of time to really put together their characters. But I think that they did a good enough job at representing, like, he is the leader. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like in the original he was a little bit more straight-laced. This one's kind of like he was the golden boy. Now it's kind of like he's a little edgy and
he's the bad boy now.
Yeah, like he's a little edgy, so it's like but he's like a good guy, so it's kind of like switching between the
Mm-hmm.
two. He had duality, but like it was kind of a weird switch, like on and off between like his character for me personally.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which he did an okay job. There were some tweaks I would have made to the character myself, but like overall he did a good job, I think.
Okay. Okay. So then, moving forward, we have Naomi Scott. She plays the Pink Ranger, Kimberly. She is most well known for Aladdin in 2019, and then also did Charlie's Angels in 2019. Neither of those movies were very well received. So, but I personally, I think that her acting is fine. She's kind of, so I'm not very familiar with her. So to me, she's kind of a newer actress, and she does a good enough job. This is one of those movies where they bring in, like, it's okay that they have newer actors and actresses, and you just kind of, they're maybe just getting started. You don't get a lot of time for any specific individuals to really strut their stuff, except for the villain. And so, yeah, I mean, I think she did a good job. I think that, hopefully she has a good career ahead of her, and we can see her develop more. She, like I said, kind of in the beginning, she plays that stereotypical cheerleader who also has like a little bit of like a naughty side, a bad side, and that kind of is what gets her in trouble and makes her the outcast and sends her to detention, and so yeah, I mean, that's basically her whole character. Like I said, not a whole lot of things specifically to point out about any of the characters that goes, this is the character
like,
moment.
Yeah.
We just basically touch on their characters a little bit each and then move on. So
yeah. The one thing, and oh my gosh, I understand why they do this, but I hate it when you want to show that a female is like strong and stuff like that. She cuts her hair. Like, I understand.
I thought that was dumb too. Actually, I saw that. And I was like, that. I said that wouldn't happen. Nobody would do that.
Yeah,
Come
it's like,
now.
ugh, I'm angry. I'm gonna cut my hair. I get like beauty standards and stuff like that. But you can be a badass with long hair. Like,
yeah, a lot of badasses have long hair.
yeah.
Look at Triple H.
Or have you seen Black Lagoon?
I haven't seen that.
It's like an anime where she's a female character, not a great person, but total badass.
Long hair too, right?
Long hair, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so that's basically her character. Then we have the Blue Ranger, played by RJ. It's either Syler or Kyler. It's Cyler. So Blue Ranger. He is most well known from Me and Earl and the Dying Girl from 2015. He also was in Emergency from 2022. I think that of the Power Rangers, he's probably the one that we get the most interaction with as far as character moments. In the beginning, he talks about his dad died, and his dad used to take him to this quarry, and so it's like, okay, you kind of get where he's coming from a little bit better than the rest of the characters. Other than Zach, they talk about Zach and some stuff with him, and we'll talk about it when we get to him. But yeah, so he's on the spectrum, so he acts a little bit. I mean, not being offensive or trying to be mean or anything, but he acts a little bit weird. Abnormal, not the way that most people act in certain social situations and things. He's very literal, which leads to some comedic moments as well. That's another thing that I was going to say about the Black Ranger, like the actual guy who is black that is a Power Ranger, is he's kind of a comedic relief. They don't really make fun of the fact that he is on the spectrum, but because he's on the spectrum, he has some literal moments which bring in some comedy, if that makes sense. I think it is very tasteful. I agree with you that it's very tasteful. It's not anything offensive to anybody, but that's basically his whole character, is a little bit of a comedic relief character. And, I mean, a little bit. Not too much. It's like Drax the Destroyer. Like Drax the Destroyer. Yeah, Drax the Destroyer from Guardians of the Galaxy is not a joke, but some of the things he says are a little bit funny. Yeah.
I think he is the social glue that brings them all together.
Yes, he's the heart of the Power Rangers, or the soul of the Power Rangers.
Yes, because his social dynamics is like not regular, and this is not a regular situation. So I felt like he was the perfect glue to bring them together, because socially, he is an outcast out of everyone. Socially, he is an outcast. Like, no matter where he goes, he is just going to be him. He's going to be himself. And I feel like that worked well to bring this team of pretty much like people who don't really know each other together.
Okay, cool. So yeah, and then I just want to ask you, was Billy like that in the original?
In the original, he was quirky. He was weird. He was
Well, I
out
mean,
of all his
was he
friends.
kind of the heart of the team in the original though?
Um, in the original, it was kind of like their friendship because they were already friends
Oh,
in the
okay,
original. So
okay.
he didn't need that like social glue because they were already. He was a weird kid kind of because he was smart and like
Mm-hmm.
he wasn't as social as the rest of the group. So that's why him being on the spectrum made sense. Um, but he wasn't the social glue because they were already friends.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, that's a difference here between this movie and the television show is that yeah, so that they have to kind of meet each other, get to know each other, and then form friendships because in the show they were friends already. Okay, so moving on, we have Ludi Lin. Ludi, Ludi. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that, but Ludi Lin. He is the Black Ranger and Zack. And again, crazy Asian guy is his kind of archetype here. He is most well known for Mortal Kombat in 2021, which I did a review of, and I will be putting up a little card up in the corner. So check out that card. You can see my review of that movie. And then he also most recently did The Disappearance of Mrs. Wu in 2021. And so in Mortal Kombat, he played Liu Kang. So when I saw that he did, I didn't recognize him at first when I was watching the movie. Then I looked him up on his IMDb page, and I was like, oh yeah, that is the guy. So I think he's a great actor. As far as the roles that he's been in, because like Liu Kang was a very different role than this role. I think he did fine. Okay, so I said great actor. I mean, like, I think he's a solid actor. Again, we have not seen anything with him in it to make him, to give him the opportunity to really strut his stuff, but I think he did a solid job. And his character is another character that we get a little bit more interaction with because it explains that he has a mom that's sick. So he's trying to take care of his sick mom all the time, and that kind of gives you the character, more of a character moment, character development moment with him.
So for his characterization, right? I like the actor.
Mm-hmm.
However, in the original, Zach, yes, he was high energy. He loved to dance. Like he was just like a fun, free spirited character.
Yep.
In this one, he came off more as annoying, which I didn't really like, and they just dropped the whole dance aspect. I felt like
Right.
it would have worked. Like I like the mom being sick. If it sounds kind of weird, I like I like that they added that aspect of the
Uh-huh.
mom being sick. I wish they would have done more with it. But they kind of just like sprinkled it in, and then just like left it at that. But
Right.
what
Well,
can you do?
I will say that, and we're going to talk about especially the villain. Oh man,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. Especially the villain. I want to say that and with all of the characters, you just kind of get a little bit of a sprinkle of some character moments, and then they don't elaborate on a whole lot. So I think that just has to do with it being so many characters and so much material to get through, so that way we can basically get to the sequel, and everybody who watches this and then watches what would have been the sequel will understand what's going on, and then we can just move on from there. But yeah, so I basically agree. They could have taken a little bit more time. If there was a way where they could have, not that they could have taken them a little bit more time, they weren't able to take maybe just a little bit more time that they needed to make you really fall in love with all the characters. But then we have Becky G, who is a singer.
Yeah.
She is a pop star, I guess, and she plays the Yellow Ranger. I've never heard any of her music, but when I looked her up on
What?
IMDb, she's in all this stuff. Yeah,
Oh
I
my
don't like
gosh.
modern music. I only like classic stuff. So she's most well known for Gnome Alone in 2017, and then also Axel, which is AXL in 2018, and I haven't heard. I haven't seen Gnome. I have not seen Gnome Alone, and
What?
I saw my dad. He buys all these movies from
Yeah.
Walmart all the time. Like he just buys like the cheap movies, and Axel is one of those cheap movies, and it looked like a cheap movie. My understanding is that it didn't get the best reviews, but either way, I haven't seen either of them. But I did see Axel did look a little bit cheap, so I don't know. But yeah, so she's a successful singer, and her acting here was okay. The only thing is that she probably got the least screen time of any of the Power Rangers. So her character punk rocker girl. They do this thing with her character that I actually didn't like so much, where it's like the whole group is getting together when they're realizing they're becoming superheroes, and then they see her and they're like, "Hey, we need to talk to you because we're all getting superpowers." And then she runs away, and and my wife and I both looked at each other and said, "Why did she just run away? Nothing was happening. Like there was no." Is that supposed to be like a character thing to show her like she's an outcast? She doesn't want to be friends with anybody. Like, no, she just made no sense. She just ran away. Yeah.
The thing I'll say about that is, right, it was like kind of weird, but it's also very realistic. Like, she knows of some of these people, but she doesn't know these people, and they're like, "Hey, come here, hey, come here." We're like, "What? I don't know you." Like, so I understood why she ran away a little bit in a sense,
yeah. But then when they caught up to her, she was just like, "Okay, what's up?" Like,
yeah. She kind of just stood there.
Some of it was a little bit goofy. Okay, well, so then moving on, we have, well, I'll do this. We'll talk about Bill Hader. So Bill Hader is in this. He plays Alpha 5.
Yeah.
He is a comedy actor for the most part. He is most well known for his role in The Skeleton Twins from 2014, and he also most recently did a voice acting for The Addams Family 2 in 2021. So Alpha 5 is the robot assistant of the Power Rangers. Yeah. And here I would say he was a little toned down, actually. But he's comic relief. He makes little snarky comments and is just a little, comedy. Not a whole lot. He doesn't get a whole lot of screen time or anything, but like I said, a toned down version of what you're used to from the show, but a comic relief character nonetheless. So.
I felt like he was okay. Like,
he was fine.
He did well for his role. Like, it was only like he only had like what you'd say like 10 lines maybe.
yeah, not very much screen time, so not the biggest deal. Okay, then we're coming up to probably the biggest, most influential character. At least I don't know. She must have gotten the most screen time. Elizabeth Banks playing Rita Repulsa. So she's most well known for The Hunger Games in 2012. And most recently did Call Jane, which released earlier in 2022. So, I think that Elizabeth Banks is a fine, not super great, not bad, basically middle-of-the-road actress, and she does fine here. I've heard a lot of people when this originally came out. I never saw this when it originally came out, but I remember people saying that her acting was a little bit and it might have been. I think that you kind of have to separate the writing from the acting and the character from the actor. So sometimes the character and the writing isn't good, but the actor plays the role fine. And I think that she basically did fine here. Nothing amazing. But I will say, well, first of all, do you have anything you want to say about Rita Repulsa? I'll let you go first.
In the series, she was like over the top and like she wore funny clothes. She was weird, like. So I understood where she was going with the role. I think she did well for what she was given. In this like kind of different interpretation of the character. But yeah, what were you gonna say?
Well, I do want to say, this character got a lot of criticism because, for one thing, it's a toned-down version, which everything here is because they're trying to be a little bit more realistic. And that's fine. But I think they toned it down just like a little bit too much and then made too many changes to the character for people who really liked the original to like this. In my notes, I put nothing like the original, and then I put, okay, she used to be a Power Ranger? Like, that's not...
No, that's very okay. So she used to be a bad guy who had a really good mom, like she was heroic mom, and a horrible father. Like,
wait, are you talking about in the series, or are you talking about in this movie? Because in the movie she was a Power Ranger.
In the series, but she did, however, steal the power coin.
The green power coin.
The green power coin, yes. In the original.
And that's how in the original they had the Green Ranger, who was actually a bad guy because it was Rita Repulsa's minion. But that's my point, is like that's changed. In this, they've changed her to make it so that way she originally was the Green Ranger. And that sucks. I think that's stupid. Actually, in the show, she was basically a witch, like a space witch. And here, they show that she was a Green Ranger, and they actually show her with her Green Ranger a costume
attire.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Her suit, not her costume, her suit on, her
Mm-hmm.
armor in the opening sequence where she defeats the original Power Rangers, and then. So that kind of like draws you in. You're like, okay, where are they going to go with that? And then they never touch more on her backstory. Like you don't really hear more about her backstory. She used to be Zordon's friend, and they fought alongside each other. And then she got greedy for power, and that's all that they explain. It would have been nice to see some scenes where maybe you kind of understand why she became power hungry, or some flashbacks might have been a little bit nicer. Due to the amount of screen time we have with her, and then of that screen time, how much of it is creating a connection with her, I would say that we did not get very much of a connection to her. So her losing, or like basically, since we've had like the MCU where they've created villains that you kind of almost sympathize with, the bar for what a good villain is has been raised, and here we just like I think she's a below average villain. Not the actress. I'm talking about the writing and stuff. Is a below average villain just because you don't get enough of a connection to her, and you basically don't care about her throughout the movie.
What I'll say is like a lot of stuff didn't make sense to me. Like she was, they were all Power Rangers, and then she rose up with her one power coin. Like that was, I guess, stronger than the rest. Like in the series, it is stronger, but for different reasons, and like she went through a lot to get it in like the comics and stuff like that. She went through a lot to get that green power coin. Like it makes sense, but like when you're watching the movie, it doesn't make sense how like all of them were created at the same time. How was she able to defeat everybody? And why is hers so different from like the other ones? You know what I'm saying?
Well, to add to that too is like, how did she? So she went through and beat all of the like Zordon, and then the rest of the team. You never see the rest of the team before Zordon, but she went through and defeated all of those guys, and they were like elite trained Power Rangers, and they were at their peak strength, and they fought her. Okay. Now, in this one, a bunch of high school kids have the powers for a week and a half and are able to defeat her easily. I mean, she did not put up much of a fight at all to fight them. That sucked. I was like, how did that make any sense? I agree, basically agreeing with what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, like basically, I think that and there's another character that we're going to talk about, but it's not even a character, so it doesn't belong. Like this character doesn't actually belong in the character section, and I think you know what I'm talking about. If you're confused, we'll get to it in a minute here.
I'm so confused right now.
Yeah, you'll understand. You just watch this, guys. You're going to see some realization go into this guy's face when I talk about it. Okay, so moving on. You want to move on to the miscellaneous section then?
Yeah, we can do it.
Sure, yeah. So do you have any big miscellaneous section stuff? Anything that doesn't fall under plot, characters, or production that you just want to bring out right away? I'll let you kind of front load.
So usually I hate product placement, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So the way that they did this with the whole Krispy Kreme product placement, I thought it was done perfect. Like, they added a comedic element to it and stuff like that. Some of it was like, you're doing a little bit too much. But, like, a lot of it, I liked it. Like, the whole fighting for the last piece of the donut. Not like a donut hole, but, like, the last piece of the donut. I thought that was kind of cheesy. But, I was like, okay. But, like, when she's, like, can I say, like, some of the scene?
Yeah, go ahead.
When she, like, finds the Krispy Kreme or whatever, she's like, I'll take this, like, weird food. I'm like, just try a bite. She's like, it's okay. I like it. I thought that was, like, perfect.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I do think that was some comedic value there, and it was done all right. You know, it wasn't done terribly. Krispy Kreme, this must be a special place. And she, yeah, that was pretty funny. I thought that was pretty good. That's probably how they paid for most of this movie. Krispy Kreme gave them $100 million. So, do you have anything else though? Miscellaneous section stuff?
Let's see. What would we consider? Would like the fight scenes be considered miscellaneous?
Yes.
Or is that its own?
Yeah. We can talk about that.
So, you can tell the difference in the skill level, I'll say, with some of like the choreography.
Mm-hmm.
Like, although she doesn't get a lot of screen time, I feel like the Yellow Ranger was like up there when it comes to like fight choreography. If you like watch the scenes as they go through and things like that, she had some of the best fight choreography. Like her moves were so fluid, and it's kind of hard to do with a lot of CG elements with your fight scenes.
Mm-hmm.
but I thought she was the best. And like Billy, the Blue Ranger, he was I want to say the worst, just because like he's supposed to be. If that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, I see what you're saying. So I do want to say, I had this written down. I had fight scenes. I think that the fight scenes in this are subpar. Um, and I don't mean
I would agree.
I'm not talking about the choreography like you're talking about, but I do agree with I get what you're saying. I didn't pay so much attention to that, but I get what you mean. But if you look right here, over here, you'll see. I'll put no, not you, the audience. I'm going to try to put up some clips of the fight scenes, and you can see it's just a CGI fest, and they do this thing that I absolutely hate, and I talk about it every time I talk about fight scenes. They do the thing where the camera is here, and you'll see the two guys, and the guy will come up, and he's about to punch somebody, and he goes to punch, and just before he hits the guy, the camera then switches to like over here, and it's like, why do that? It's CGI. Just show... Like in the original show, you just had wide angle cuts where the people would run at each other and start fighting, and it was cool to watch. The same thing happened in the original show with the monster battles with the Megazords and all that, and Zords, and they would come and fight, and they just like the camera it'd be like watching a Mortal Kombat fight. The camera would be here, you'd see the two enemies come at each other, and they would just fight, and that would be it. And it's like, oh, cool. I think the fight scenes here were basically, like I said, just too many cuts. It happened so fast that you can't really track what's going on the best. And that's probably why I had a hard time watching and paying attention to some of the stuff you're talking about as far as the choreography. But good eye. I know that's really great.
Yeah, I will say the fight scenes were particularly kind of short.
Yes,
and I understand why you think they were lackluster, because they were. They were like, because it'd be like a brief snippet, like here, like, okay, I'm going to punch this guy, or I'm going to flip him, and then it's going to be it. Compared to like the series where it was kind of goofy, where there were just these guys and these like, I don't know, like latex suits going like whoop 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 kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see what you mean.
I did like the putties in this though, just like as a modern take and to make it cooler. The putties being little like rock guys, that was pretty cool. So kind of my thoughts on the miscellaneous section then here. So I thought that they had a good opening with Zordon, but then lost momentum afterwards, and it does drag on. So this is a 2-hour movie, and they don't actually start... Like, they actually morph into their Power Ranger armor at about the hour and a half mark. It's like right at an hour and a half, and then they have 30 minutes left, and the rest of it is... Like, you have to subtract credits, which are probably about 10 to 15 minutes long. So you basically have, like, 15 to 25 minutes, maybe, of them actually fighting and doing stuff, so it just kind of drags on, and you're like, okay, come on now, when are we going to get the Power Rangers here? Let's do this thing. Because while they do rely on you basically having some kind of understanding or introduction or knowing a little bit about the Power Rangers just in general, they also are trying to do this thing. It's like as a viewer, they rely on you to understand the Power Rangers, right? But then as a viewer, as you're sitting there watching this, you're like, okay, I get it. I know what the Power Rangers are. Let's start being Power Rangers and kicking some butt here, you know? Anyway, so you have the awkward moments where the powers develop. So you basically have normal people. There's no such thing as superheroes. There's no magic. There's nothing like that in this universe. And then all of a sudden they get introduced to this stuff. So you see them developing their powers. Their powers, by the way, are strength, speed, and durability. Something that in the original series I never understood. Like, I never thought of them as being stronger or faster or more durable than anyone else. I just thought that they were guys who put on costumes and fought with martial arts against wizards from space. So you actually see them being super strong and jumping really far and getting punched in the face and by normal people, and they're just like, oh, that didn't even hurt. So I thought that the Zord... We already kind of said this. I thought Zordon in the wall looks cool, and they did really good with that. You don't get enough time with him to make his character really the best kind of character or anything like that. I thought there was some awkward... So you kind of get... None of this, by the way, is bad. I do have some bad things I want to talk about, but you kind of get that awkward interaction as the team becomes a team. So you have all of these people coming together. As you said, in the show, they were already friends. Here, they're not. So you have them kind of coming together and trying to work to each other, get to know each other, and work as a team. Some of that is good. Some of it is not good. The awkward interactions they have, you're going to be like, oh, that's kind of cheesy. I'm doing this a lot. So there's a training montage that they have in these types of movies. One, I was gonna say, and I said this to my wife. One thing that was great about like the Avengers movie from the MCU is that bringing the Avengers together, each of them had their own movie. So when they came together, you didn't have to see like a training montage. You didn't have to see explanations of their powers. And here they, instead of having their own movies, they have to do it all in one. And so you do get that like explanation of their powers, the training montage, them forming a team together. So it's not necessarily bad. It's just it's not like MCU level superhero movie.
Yeah, I really didn't like that.
Okay, yeah.
In the original, they were all had like some form of like martial arts training.
Right.
If it wasn't martial arts training, it was like gymnastics and things kind of like that. Mm-hmm. So they didn't have to learn how to fight, if that makes sense.
Right.
And
right.
in this one, maybe Trini might have some sort, like, because you see her doing the whole, you know.
Yeah. No,
like,
I get what you're saying.
But this one, I wish they had more time to train instead of like 11 days, where it's like kind of like, oh, take what you can get, like, you know.
Yeah. I do want to ask you. So in the series, did they have super strength and super speed and stuff?
So in the series, they all had like their specific background. They all took some different type of martial arts, and then like Jason and Zach. First of all, they were the best of friends, and they were both very skilled martial artists. Billy was getting taught by those two, and Zach developed his own little form of martial arts. Trini, her parents like. Had a martial arts background.
Because they were Asian, right, in the show.
So my defense for that was like, originally she was supposed to be Spanish, right? They casted a Spanish person to play the role, but she wanted more money, so they're like, yeah, we're gonna go with someone else.
So the yellow Asian lady.
Yeah. So like that was a big deal later on, like because the Yellow Ranger was Asian.
The Black Ranger was
black.
The Red Ranger was a Native American too.
Yeah, it was a little but they cleaned it up, I guess, kinda. Like.
Yeah. That would not have happened today in today's. Well, it didn't. That's why they changed the colors.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
But did they actually have superpowers though? Were they actually physically stronger? Do you know
So they became a little bit more durable. Like they could roll with the punches. Like after they got the powers, they did become stronger, a little bit more durable. But their fights were based off of their martial arts expertise instead of like, I became Superman kind of thing.
Right. Okay, so then I think my last... I kind of have a neutral point, and then I have my bad points. But the last good point that I have was that at the end, you hear the Go-Go Power Ranger song. I thought that was cool. So they have a scene when they finally transform into their Power Ranger selves, and then they get into their Zords, and you see... Doon, 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 and I was like, yes!
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. Just wanted to throw that in there for the fans of the original series.
Yeah,
but we do have... We do have some things that I want to talk about that I call movie-isms. And the same thing is like video game-isms and movie-isms are basically things where it's like a silly little thing that maybe isn't the most realistic, but there's no other way that they could have done this. So it's not a big deal. What do you got?
Before we move on to that, I do want to say I did like some of the scenes, the camera work for the scenes, like the first car chase scene, I really enjoyed that, and like the bike scene, okay. It didn't have to be in the movie, but like I did enjoy the multicam use and how they panned it for those scenes in particular. I'm a big like visuals guy. Like I did like how it was like smoothly done and everything like that. But there's some scenes in the movie where that just doesn't work.
Right.
But I did enjoy those particular ones, and the one thing. Before we go, I did not like how many like car scenes there were, if that makes sense.
Okay.
I felt like that was a bit too many.
I get what you're saying. Yeah, where they're doing the chases and all that stuff, like almost like a little mini Need for Speed episode.
Yeah.
So moving on to the movie-isms here. So I have a list of 3. Like I said, these are just some silly little things that they couldn't happen any other way, so you just kind of have to accept it even if it's a little bit goofy. The first one is that they randomly find Zordon's buried ship. So basically, they find the power coins and get their powers at this quarry. And then as they develop their powers, start to develop their powers the next day, they come back to the quarry and are trying to figure out what happened, what's up with these coins, what's going on there. They don't find anything where they had where they had actually found the buried coins. But then they see the Yellow Ranger comes up and she runs away, and then they chase after her, and randomly chasing after her, they find they find Zordon's buried ship, which is the headquarters of the Power Rangers. And I was like, I mean, really? Like, they just randomly find the ship? It would have been, they could have done it better where they had, like, because they started to develop their powers or had the coins in some way, the coins led them to the ship or something. So,
Yeah.
They could have had, what is his name? The robot guy come.
Alpha.
Alpha 5. They could have had him come to them and be like, you have the coins, you're a Power Ranger. Then we have the awkward, unrealistic high school stuff, and this happens in every single high school show. Nobody is getting beaten up by bullies in the middle of the high school hallways. Nobody is, you know what I'm talking about. The awkward, stupid high school. Like, that doesn't happen in high school.
I will say, there was an incident, like, my sister, my god sister, in high school. This is an actual thing that happened. Yeah. And I was like, what? That doesn't happen in real life. She did get pushed, like, in a locker by some bullies or whatever. And there was a whole situation. I was like, people actually do that in real life? Like,
yeah. No, but that's so rare that, like, to put that in a movie, in every single movie where there's a high school, it's so ridiculous. Bullying, as depicted in high school movies, is way out of line. Okay, and then also, we've already kind of touched on this, but then they also have that where it's like, how many days do we have before the Earth gets destroyed? Oh, 5. Yeah, 11. They had 11 days. So they're just like, oh, you have 11 days until the world ends here. Okay, so now I want to get into some bad stuff. Kind of talked about, I thought the fight scenes were subpar. And then I want to talk about this other character that I said isn't really a character, Goldar.
Oh, Goldar. Yeah, I did not like that at
Goldar, in the original, Goldar was a guy. Goldar was like one of Rita Repulsa's, just a minion of Rita Repulsa's.
It was like her right hand.
Yeah, here, Goldar you see Rita Repulsa, she's like going around town ripping people's teeth out. Mm-hmm. And trying to find golden teeth, trying to find all the gold that she can get. She robs a jewelry store to get gold, so that way she can make Goldar. And Zordon is already knows who Goldar is, so it's not like she's making a new thing. It's basically, Goldar is not a character here. Goldar is a creature that people is known by people. It's weird. Like, Goldar should just be a character who works alongside of Rita.
It was okay. So the whole Goldar thing was kind of convoluted. Like, with the gold, like, does it heal her? Because it heals her at some points, or is it like her magic? It really doesn't make sense. Like, Goldar, why does he even have a name? Just like,
right.
Kind of like, I get why they wanted to include Goldar because he's like a character in like the TV show and the comics and stuff like that. But like, he really didn't need to be here if he was just gonna be like a prop kind of thing.
Yeah, really what would have made more sense, I think, is if they had the putties, and then she maybe made the putties like form together and form a big giant monster, and then had that monster fight the Power Rangers, and then after they defeat it, maybe like have an after credit scene where you see her and she's all defeated and she's whatever, and then Goldar steps in and says like, oh, don't worry, I'm here to save you. Or actual Goldar, the character, comes in and is looking at the Power Rangers from far off, and he's like, I'm going to get you, or something like that.
Yeah.
To tease the sequel. But yeah, Goldar was stupid. And I also want to point out that no matter how many bracelets made of gold she stole from people, or how many teeth she ripped out, she did not get enough gold to form the giant monster that is Goldar in this movie.
You mean the gold that she swallowed? Like,
yes, like, why are you eating
at
it?
Random
like, that
points?
Doesn't make sense. Yes, that didn't make sense. Also, they had some bad dialogue. We kind of talked about, this is more probably would have been better to be more for kids, a younger audience. The original was very cheesy and campy, and here they have that in the dialogue. I can kind of forgive it. Like, I didn't think it was terrible, but it's just like some things where it's like, oh, you could have written that a little bit better.
Yeah, I can definitely see the dialogue being a little bit better. Like, I feel like they didn't know who their audience was.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, because like they had their moments where it was like very childish, and then like it got to the point where it was very adult. So they
Mm-hmm.
never really found that middle ground to where it's like for everyone. I feel like they were still trying to find their audience kind of thing, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean yeah. I mean, it was rated PG-13, and they probably should have gone for an age younger than PG-13 rating. But then if you go younger than PG-13 rating, then maybe you'll lose the older audience that are old fans of Power Rangers. So it's kind of like, I don't know. I think that they should have aired more towards kids rather than adults, because the original show was not PG-13. You know, I mean, it was for younger, so...
Yeah, it definitely was.
I've already said this. They kind of became They didn't become Power Rangers until the end, so you don't see a lot of power ranging. The suits that they have when they finally become the Power Rangers, they're kind of weird. On paper, it looks like it would like if you showed me a picture of the suit, like a black and white drawing of the suit, and said this is what the suit's gonna look like, I'd be like, yes, that's cool. And then when you see it in the movie, it's like, it's not terrible, but it looks very Japanese. And if you watch Netflix movies where they have the Netflix Japanese movies, or if you watch foreign films, Japanese and Chinese live action movies where they have superheroes and stuff, you'll know what I'm talking about. It looks a little bit cheaper. The CGI for some of the CGI stuff with the suits doesn't look the best. The suits are too shiny, I think. They would have looked cooler if they were a little bit, just done a little differently. Like, there's not a specific criticism I have for the suits. I'm just telling you that when I looked at them, I was like, ooh, it's okay, but it's not the greatest.
I agree with you on that. The suits do look a little foreign, which makes sense because they're supposed to be like outer space.
Yeah.
I wish that they have like this big glowing thing on the suits that I wish was a little bit smaller. Like, it took up too much of the suit, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And if they had like a darker like kind of tone to the suits, it'd be a lot better. But overall, I thought the suits were okay. Like, it kind of made sense because they're like going for that space vibe, which I kind of got.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I mean, and I want to clarify, like, I don't think that they were bad. I just, you look at it and you're like, that's not as good as it could have been. That's all I'm saying.
Absolutely.
One thing I want to point out about the Zords, man, I want to tell you something. Let me tell you about these Zords. I have the original Zords, okay, from when I was a kid. So you have a T-Rex, a Rhino, a Triceratops, a saber-toothed tiger, and a fighter jet. It's supposed to be a pterodactyl. It's not a pterodactyl. It doesn't have the face of a pterodactyl. The original Zord had the face of a pterodactyl.
The little, like, neck
and the
thing.
claws. Yes, and then here it's a fighter jet. That's it. It's just a fighter jet with claws. So I thought I was disappointed in that.
I will correct you on one thing. Your Rhino, I believe you said, is a mastodon.
Okay, mastodon.
Yeah, mastodon. So it's,
is it a mastodon?
Yeah, mastodon.
Like a woolly mammoth. You mean a woolly mammoth?
That whatever they put, it's a mastodon on the thing. It's like it's a mastodon for the all intents and purposes. They do call it a mastodon. Whether it is something else.
1 second. I'm looking it up. Mastodon animal. Mastodon. Oh, yeah, it's a woolly mammoth. Okay, but the problem with it is that it doesn't look like a woolly mammoth. It looks like a rhino.
It does. It does very much so look like a rhino.
So there's another thing that I didn't even realize. I thought that it was a woolly rhino. I thought it was just a giant rhino monster, and I was like, okay, I can forgive that, but I cannot forgive that it looks like a rhino and also is not a rhino. So there you go. The Zords, I was disappointed in. I think the CGI was not the best. It wasn't terrible. I think that the CGI for Rita was fine. I think that the CGI for Goldar was fine. I think that the CGI for Zordon was fine. But the CGI for the Power Rangers and the CGI for the Zords was not the best. It wasn't absolutely terrible. It doesn't look really bad. It's not like B-movie or anything. It just, it's not the best. It looks like a foreign film level CGI. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to insult Japanese films or Japanese people or Chinese films, Chinese people, but I do just want to say, like, there's just a different quality when it comes to CGI from American movies, and it just wasn't here. So the CGI wasn't the best. It wasn't terrible, but the Megazords, the Megazord, at the end of the movie, they form together to form the Megazord to fight the big monster Goldar, which is what they do in every single episode of the show.
Yeah, make my monster grow, kind of thing. Yeah.
The Megazord does not look like a combination of the other Zords.
it had too much silver, not enough color.
Right. Well, I'm saying because I remember when I had the T Rex would come up, the T Rex's head would fold down,
Mm-hmm.
and
It'd be like the chest,
yeah the
and
yeah
then like
yeah,
yeah.
and then it would made up the body, and then the pterodactyl made up the chest, like wrapped around its chest.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the head of the Power Ranger thing came out and it had the helmet, but then the arms and the legs were a basically the one arm was a saber-toothed tiger
Mm-hmm.
body attached with the mouth being the hand. And
Yeah.
then the other one was, I forget what the other one was. It was the Triceratops.
Yeah, it was a piece of
Yeah, and so it was,
Triceratops.
yeah,
Yeah,
so it
yeah.
was like their mouths were the hands. And I'm like, that's what it should have been. It should have looked like a saber-toothed tiger's butt was attached to this guy's shoulder,
Yeah.
and he moved the saber-toothed tiger like a hand or like an arm. But instead of being like that, it looked like they just took like imagine body red with a bunch of silver, left leg black with a bunch of silver, right leg blue with a bunch of silver. I forget which ones they use for the arms and legs in this movie, but I'm just saying like they don't actually look like the individual Zords anymore once they form into Megazord. So
Yeah.
I was disappointed with that.
I didn't like it. Didn't have enough color for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if we're gonna get into it, but like how they formed was kind of like, is it heat? Like how did they just kind of happen?
Yes, you don't see it. In the original show, that's what is the big thing is they use models, and then you'll see like they'll make smoke and then they'll like fly together and
together kind of
and
thing.
boom, yeah, like you'd actually see the parts like fly together and they'd form, and then you'd see the pterodactyl float down and it's like Megazord.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a slower thing in the show, like, and I understand not doing that, but I wish there was like something else, like instead of them all getting pushed and like almost burning to death.
Yeah, they all
like,
melted together in the show. That's why it didn't look that good.
It
That's
didn't
why
make
it didn't
any
look
sense.
that. No, that's why it didn't look that good because it was just the pieces melted together. It wasn't them actually forming together. Yeah. Okay, so awesome. So that's the last points that I have for miscellaneous section. Do you want to go into the final statement and review score here?
Let me see. Is there anything I want to say before we move on to that? I would. Yeah, we can go on to it. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, awesome. So final statement and review score. So you can go ahead and go first, Brownie God. Tell us what you just give us a summary of your thoughts on the movie as far as its quality and all that stuff, and give us the final review score. So the final review score for everybody who's new and for Brownie God being a first time guest, we have a 5-fingered system here. You've got excellent, okay, and this is like changing the genre, like just amazing, okay. You have above average, which is really great but not excellent. You have average, which is basically average. It can be a good average or a bad average where you're disappointed and so it should have been better but it's an average, or it could have just been like, hey, solid movie, average. Then you have below average and bad, and those last two I don't think I need to explain. Yeah, so what do you think?
So I don't know if you mind this, right? Like I'll give my like brief overview, but I kind of want to see
go ahead.
what your
Go
head
ahead,
is towards your rating.
Yeah.
Before I give mine, is that cool?
Okay. So you want me to go first?
Yeah.
You want me to go first? Okay. So Brownie God is asking me to go first. Okay. So I think that I think that this movie was close. I think that it was so close, man. We have the CGI being a little bit subpar, not enough action. It had some good momentum. It had a really good setup and a really good potential to make a really good story here. Being the source material is so good, and it just the pieces kind of came together, but didn't quite fit for me. And then also, like I said, like CGI, and then faithfulness to the original. The villain wasn't the best. Rita Repulsa, to me anyway, was like changed too much, and Goldar, I think, was almost an insult to the people who liked the original. I just remember that people were like really upset with this movie when it first came out, and I can understand why it lost money, and I can understand why it didn't get the sequel that it was supposed to get. To me, I'm gonna give it a rating of average. So we've got average, okay. And I'm gonna say that it would not have surprised me if this got a sequel and kept going. Kind of like the Transformers movies. I didn't think that the first Transformers movie was so amazing, and it wouldn't have surprised me if it didn't get a sequel because of its quality. But same here. I think that I wouldn't have been surprised if it did get a sequel and everybody loved it. But I'm also not surprised that it didn't get a sequel and it didn't make any money. So I would say average. It's not bad, and it was very close to being above average. It just didn't quite hit the mark for me. So, not bad. This is an average that is not a bad average. I wasn't even really disappointed in the movie. It just didn't really exceed my expectations either.
This was like, it was kind of difficult for me because on one hand, I love the franchise. I love a lot of the stuff that they did, a lot of the nostalgic moments. I think they did perfect for this movie. And I feel like they didn't overdo it too much. There was some stuff I would change, like the whole Goldar thing. Just scrap that completely and bring out just the Green Ranger Zord, which is the Dragon Zord, which is huge. So many people would have loved it. There was a scene, I don't know if you noticed it, but they did bring back 2 of the original Rangers.
Yes, I did. I did.
Yeah.
There's a cameo. The 2 original Rangers, as the movie finishes, you see a crowd of people taking pictures of the Megazord, and then it zooms out and you see the pink and red Ranger.
Yeah. So they were in it, and I did enjoy that because they weren't doing too much to upset the flow of the movie, but it was a nice little thing. And there were some moments where I was like, I wanted it so bad to work, and it just didn't make sense. And there's other moments like Zach and Trini. I wish they would have got more screen time relative to the budding romance that they had for Kimberly and Jason. It was kind of a thing in the series, but once they introduced the Green Ranger, which they did a post scene. I don't know if you saw the post scene.
Yes, I did. Yeah. So they did a post scene of where you see the green jacket.
Yeah, the green jacket for Tommy, who's her main love interest for that series. So I wish they would have dialed back on that and introduced more for Zach and Trini kind of thing. The cinematography, I really did like the cinematography for a lot of the movie. Although I felt like they had too many car scenes kind of thing, I did enjoy the look of it. Visually, it was very pleasing.
Right.
And the transitions were done really well, except when it's incorporating too much of the CGI, which you mentioned. When they were doing too much with the CGI, that's where it started to fall apart a little bit. But it was done fairly well. The story was okay. I just wish some of the stuff that would make more sense, Billy took his mom's van, right? Gets totaled. Don't hear about it at all.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
Don't hear about it at all. I don't know about you, but if I took my mother's van and it's just gone, I'd hear about it that day. Or the next day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's just simple stuff like that. And the dad was made out to be the bad guy, which didn't really make sense to me because Jason did mess up his future, and he's whatever, Dad. It's ugh, I'm kind of edgy, And the Yellow Ranger, right? Her characterization, I didn't hate it. She was just made to be edgy. Right.
You
know what I'm saying? I get you move around a lot. I used to move around a lot too, right? But I wasn't no one understands me, especially my parents, kind of thing. Okay, so I wanted it so bad to be excellent. It was nowhere near excellent, right? There was a lot of mistakes. I'm going to go with average, because of the nostalgia. I want to put it above average, but it's not. It's
high average.
High average for me.
High average. Okay. Well, but do you think it's worth a look?
Yeah, especially if you're a fan.
Okay.
If you're a fan, you need to see it to compare and contrast. I like what they did with the original theme. I love that they included that when they were all running and stuff like that. I did enjoy that. So if you're a fan of the series, give it a watch. And if not, it's just a fun thing to just kind of play in the background.
Sure. All right, well, there you have it. So here at Mike's After Action Reviews, we have average to high average. And definitely, I mean, I think it's worth a look, worth a watch, especially if you have kids, for younger people. I know it's PG-13, but I didn't think there was any, big thematic things that were like, oh, that's inappropriate for kids. There might have been a swear word or something. No, they even stopped themselves from saying the swear. I don't think they swore in it or anything.
Billy was a big no swear word kind of thing.
Yeah, so definitely for like younger teens to even maybe a little younger than 13 as well. Younger audiences, and if you're a big fan of the original series, definitely check it out. But so that's all we've got today. Definitely check out Mr. Brownie God here on Twitch and YouTube. Make sure that you're subscribed to see more of my content. Follow me over on Twitch. I do live streams of all of the games that I review. You can join my Discord and actually voice chat with me through my headphones while I'm live streaming. And you won't be recorded on YouTube or Twitch or anything like that, so you're just like free to talk. It's a cool way to get together and talk to each other while I'm playing. But that's what we've got. I want to thank you all for watching, and just say God bless you all, and have a good day.